What's going on, guys, and welcome back to WrestleRant, where every single week I, Graham G.S. Matthews, break down all the pay-per-views that I watch on the WWE Network as well as on the Global Wrestling Network. Today we're talking ECW November to Remember 1998, and after a great Heatwave pay-per-view from a few months earlier, which I thought was really, really good, easily the best ECW pay-per-view I've seen on the network to date, not including the one-night stand shows, obviously, from 05 and 06. That was the best ECW show I've seen. November to Remember, I was hoping they would maintain that momentum and have another really good show. This really was not that good at all. There were a few decent matches, but, some better. It was better than most of the ECW shows I've seen. Not nearly the best, though. Overall, really, in a vacuum, was not a great show. Better than some of the early ones, which were kind of shit. This still had, a few things I was like, about. But anyway, we kicked out the show with Terry Funk, who came out and just went off on Tommy Dreamer. So Tommy Dreamer was in a match later on in the night, which I'll talk about in a second, where it was him versus, who was it? Just Incredible, and they had to pick their mystery partners. Terry Funk was pissed that Dreamer did not choose him to be his partner, and that he wasn't even invited to the show. He wasn't booked. Terry Funk's not booked. He's not booked to the show. What comes around goes around, you son of a bitch. Anyway, so Dreamer asked to be Dreamer's partner. Or Funk rather asked Dreamer to be his partner. He said no. So he just kind of goes off crazy. And the reason I bring that up is because Terry Funk wasted no time in showing up in the next match between the BWO and Danny Doring and Amish Roadkill. He showed up at this point. I don't know why there was so much focus on him. It really took away from the match, which really was not that good to begin with. But Terry Funk, without him being involved, this would have been a better bout, I admit. This was okay. Went about 10 minutes. The BWO won. Went a little long. Probably should not have gone as long as it did. But it was good. The crowd was into it. It was a fun little match. I thought it was fun. The Terry Funk stuff I just thought was unnecessary. You could probably have done that a little later on in the show because he was ultimately booted from the building. Or he said that he would leave or whatever. I don't remember. But to do that right after the first segment, I thought was kind of a waste. We had Tommy Rogers taking on Tracy Smothers. This was kind of just an FBI-level feud. Now, the FBI had sided at the time with Tracy Smothers, and then Tommy Rogers was like a fake FBI member or something like that. I don't remember. The Full-Blooded Italians member. I don't know. This was really not good at all. This sucked. No one gave a shit about it. The FBI were kind of doing their thing, their typical wacky antics, but it just really didn't gel well with whatever Tommy Rogers was doing. This was a total waste of time. No one cared, and the match was no good. Rogers did win, though. After that, I don't even really want to call it a match. They included it as a match on Wikipedia, even though it really wasn't technically a match. They had all this shit happen where people just came out. Spike Dudley came out. The Italian Mabel came out. Yeah, fucking Big Daddy V came out and started throwing haymakers to everyone. So Spike Dudley, he puts Mabel through a table. Mabel fell through a table, and then he hit him with the acid drop and pinned him in 5 seconds. Again, not technically a match. It was never supposed to be a match, but I'll include it just because it was kind of an extension of what we saw previously with Rogers and Smothers. This was total throwaway, but seeing Mabel go through a table was funny, though. Lance Storm and Jerry Lynn up next. Had a great match that was once again hindered by all the bullshit that ECW was known for at the time. 2 special guest referees, one being Mikey Whipwreck and the other being Tammy Sitch. Now, Whipwreck hitting the, whatever his finisher was, like a stunner on Tammy Sitch was entertaining. Beyond that, they really should have just let these guys go out there and have the match they were capable of, which they did. It was a good match in spite of all the shenanigans, but it still could have been better than what it was between Storm and Jerry Lynn. And the ref angle didn't really make much sense to me. It was just really distracting and confusing. And again, the wrestling I thought was really, really good. But all the special guest ref stuff was really confusing, and it took away from the action for me. Lance Storm did go over after about 16 or 17 minutes. Tag team action up next for the ECW World Tag Team titles. Easily the best thing on the entire show, not even close. Between the then champions, the Dudley Boys, and then the team of Balls Mahoney and Masato Tanaka. This match was great, especially down the stretch. They got about 15 minutes. They got some good time here. The final stretch was fantastic. A lot of awesome near falls. The crowd was into it. People were going nuts for this shit. Towards the end, Rob Van Dam and Sabu came in to help out Tanaka and Mahoney. They put the Dudleys through the tables, and they helped them win the tag team titles. And another newsworthy thing, kind of a noteworthy thing about this match, was that Tanaka was hit with the 3D by the Dudley Boys, and he kicked out, and it got a great reaction. Now, that's noteworthy because I think only one other person, unless I'm mistaken, has ever kicked out of the 3D, that being Chris Sabin at a TNA pay-per-view, I think back in 2010. like No Surrender, or one of those shows. I don't remember exactly what it was called. But yeah, Chris Sabin kicked out. I think it was Sabin or the Motor City Machine Guns versus Team 3D. I think those are the only two people to ever kick out of the 3D, if I'm not mistaken. So that's pretty cool. So the crowd popped big for that. And obviously the move was still new at this time. If people kicked out of it in WWE, then it would have been an even bigger deal because no one ever kicks out of the 3D. So they battled back. RVD and Sabu came in, helped them out, and helped them, Tanaka and Mahoney, win the tag team titles. So this was a great match. It was a lot of fun. The run-in I thought was well done. Didn't take away from the match at all. They saved it for the end. Didn't drag on longer than it needed to, and it was perfect. I really, really enjoyed this. So again, easily the best thing on the entire show. After that, another tag team match between Tommy Dreamer and Jake Roberts, who was the special guest mystery partner, fucking Jake Roberts, good God, who was in awful shape by this point, taking on Just Incredible and his mystery tag team partner, Jack Victory. This was no good. Jake Roberts looked awful in here. I don't know why they just didn't have them announce the partners outright. The mystery tag team partner stuff was kind of disappointing, and it was not really that good at all. Just dragged on and on and on. There was so much fucking interference from so many different people. Again, with the interference with this company, cut it out. Cut it out. It doesn't add to the match. Doesn't make it more exciting. You could do it with one match, maybe. When you do it with every other match, it's like a fucking TNA pay-per-view from the mid-2000s. It's like, enough already. And it really watered down this match. Not that it was going to be an instant classic anyway. Jake Roberts in 1998 was really not exactly in ideal condition. But, you know, it could have been better than what it was. It was just really pretty bad. Then we get to the main event, a 6-man tag team match. The new triple threat, Sabu, Rob Van Dam, and Taz, taking on the triple threat, Shane Douglas, Bam Bam Bigelow, and Chris Candido. It was a good match, and they got some decent time, almost about 13 minutes, but this was definitely underwhelming. You think of Sabu, RVD, and Taz teaming up, you think, holy shit, this should be great. And they told a good story here, and it was a good match, but it was pretty disappointing. RVD did his thing, and he had a few cool spots. Outside of that, though, this was really a very bland main event and very disappointing considering who was involved. So Sabu and RVD, I should mention this, did get jumped beforehand after they helped Tanaka and Mahoney win the tag team titles earlier in the evening. They got jumped before their match by the Dudley Boys, so they were kind of at a disadvantage. Didn't matter. They battled back. Sabu pinned Shane Douglas with an Arabian facebuster, even though Douglas was already in the Taz mission from Taz. So Sabu pinned Douglas, and that kind of teased tension between Sabu and Taz. They were going at it. They argued afterward. No one cared about the finish for whatever reason. I thought it was a well-done way to kind of tease further tension between Taz and Sabu. The crowd, for whatever reason, just did not react. Maybe just because they were disappointed by the match. I don't know. It just kind of felt like an average match and not the type of main event that you would see in the main event of a pay-per-view. Now, I've seen way worse main events for ECW pay-per-views, don't get me wrong, but considering who was involved, my expectations were admittedly a little too high, but it still should have been a much better match. This was good. By no means was it very good or even great. So again, a good match, but kind of closing the pay-per-view out on an underwhelming note, in my opinion. So overall, November to Remember 1998, kind of a mediocre show, aside from that one match. I mean, again, Storm and Lynn was really good too. All the interference I was not a fan of. I thought that was just fucking bullshit. But the ECW Tag Team title match is well worth the watch. I thought that was great. The final few minutes especially were fantastic. Everything else, The main event was good, not must-see by any means. Dreamer and Roberts versus Credible and Victory sucked. Spike Dudley and Mabel was hardly a match. Tommy Rogers versus Tracy Smothers sucked. The Terry Funk thing was a fine little story, but nothing exciting really at all. Then the main event was opener was a nice little match. It was well wrestled, but again, nothing too incredibly memorable between the BWO and Danny Doring and Amish Roadkill, whatever. So really not a show worth going out of your way to see, except for the, in my opinion, ECW World Tag Team Championship match between the Dudley Boys and Masato Tanaka and Balls Mahoney. So that's my 2 cents on ECW November to Remember. What did you guys think of the show from 1998? Drop a comment down below. Tweet me on the Twitter machine. Find me on Facebook. Like the video. Share the video. Subscribe to the channel. All that stuff is greatly appreciated. I'm not sure what the next pay-per-view I will be breaking down is. So stay tuned here on WrestleRant for more on that. Within the next week, the next episode should be up on Friday, Saturday. I think of next week, probably Friday. But anyway, guys, have a great rest of your week. I'm Graham Giason Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.